Okay, we're back.
Hello.
We are good to go, I believe.
Can you pull up a page of the new Wrecked Sisters logo with the no music just so we can show them again today?
Oh, the image?
Yes.
Yes, I can do that really fast.
Okay.
Alrighty. Here's a
And
good one.
and yours too. Put yours up first.
Well, they can see it if they're watching this.
I see. Well, all I'm seeing is the background. Hey JJ. Uh
Um,
I just see the matrix thing. I don't
oh yeah, no, they're
the
seeing it
new one.
on their end and stuff, and they just watched the intro video with the
You
logo
know
on
what?
it.
Do you have a static one that you could just throw up there?
Yeah, I
I'd
can
still
do
like
that
to
really fast.
I'd like to comment on that. So put you up first and Rex
Okay.
second.
Which one is this? Shit, I can't remember which is which. Oh, this one. Nope, that's not it. This one.
Yeah.
And it's blurry as all hell. 1 second while I fix it. Oh shit, that's not the right way.
Hey
Um,
Stu.
hold on. How did I put the wrong one up? I don't know. My hands hate me. Very likely.
Oh, I made this soup too hot. Ooh.
There we are. There's the new logo.
And
Hello, JJ. Hello, Shu.
I said hi. I said hi to both of them. Hopefully they heard me while I'm slurping down soup.
Oh, I'm sure
Uh,
they're okay with that.
may I suggest that you make the B in the middle bigger?
I can do that later.
Okay. I think with what you have going on, I think it'd be pretty cool looking a little bit bigger. And then we could do a little test. Here we go again. I can't see any of the comments. I just see the
Oh, because when you're
oh
done eating, you gotta slide that little bar over to
right.
make the comments on the
I
left
got
bigger
it.
because you're not there's no point trying to read it on the screen.
I got it. Yep. I
So
got
there's my
I
new
got it.
logo.
Yes, this is the rollout for questions that need answers. And this channel is going to be for, I guess, really anything that we don't want to put on YouTube. But, uh, Crazy B, why don't you talk about what you kind of think your plans are to do here? And I will be a part of this, but maybe, maybe not. She might say, "Hey D, you're not allowed in here today." I don't know.
I did not. I would
I
not do
I'm
that.
just teasing. So
No, I think I'm gonna probably just be using it for talking about stuff that, because I know we've talked, like, about, the Rex Sisters part gonna be, more of the political stuff, so
mhm.
I can talk about anything I feel like, supernatural, historical, specific battles and wars, talk more about the Civil War era that I'm always complaining about,
The
um
history that you love.
yeah, the stuff I don't wanna bore everybody with on the Rex Sisters.
I don't think it's boring. I think it's interesting.
It would just take too long to
Long.
cover,
Right.
and it ruins the rest of the episode for Rex Sisters.
Right.
Those
Right.
are gonna be better set up where I might just jump in and say, "Oh my god, I found this post on X today. Let's have a conversation about what they just said about the Civil War era and this,
Mm,
that, and the other," and, you
right.
know, kind of like what I was doing in the first place, just mostly history and propaganda. Like but propaganda is going to be. Are we covering the propaganda more on Rex Sisters, or do we want to leave propaganda and conspiracies for questions that
Probably.
need
Yeah.
answers?
Probably. Maybe both. I could see them transitioning. It all depends on what you have. I would think. Depending
Oh,
on how deep you want to go into the topic,
yeah.
the deep dive.
JJ's at the grocery store.
Oh,
Oh,
please,
yeah,
I
today is
gift
Such
shop. Yeah,
Things Day. Yes, that's
yeah.
right.
And by the way, happy April Fools, everybody. We told you. Well, hold on before we do that. So let's go back to questions that need answers. Yeah,
Yeah, as to
pause
why
for
we're still
sure.
on questions that need answers today, that is
Yeah,
partially me.
right.
I take complete credit from my part of
Okay, well,
forgetting to
hold on.
go
I
into
wasn't going to
you
go there yet. Hold on. I
Oh,
wasn't.
I was.
Yeah, I know you were, but I wasn't. So the questions that need answers, probably what is Monday and Wednesday, you would say?
Monday, Wednesday, and possibly earlier on Saturday if
Yeah,
depending on UFC.
right,
It might be hit or miss.
right. And so the only issue will be is if she isn't pulling her work on Rex Sisters, then we will be over here. She'll have a lot of questions that need answers to. So
Rex Sisters is the priority. I'm
I
not going to do a ton of research into the topics
right,
elsewhere.
I gotcha. I just want the audience to know the plan. Uh, but I think there's many topics that we've kicked around that we're not going to share right now that are appropriate for questions that need answers. And I think we'll probably see guests on this channel more than on Rex Sisters, uh,
Mhm.
for a variety of topics that we kind of have planned. So
The Rex Sisters is for the very well organized conversation,
yeah,
like what we've been the
very
deep
well
dives.
organized. That's
It's
funny.
gonna be the more of the deep dive stuff
Right. That's funny.
versus the questions that need answers, which is kind of a throw together for whatever is available for Monday and
Huh.
Wednesday.
Maybe we should switch switch that up around. That might work. But happy April Fools, everybody. When we left you on Sunday, we said that we would be up and running. Ha, that's a joke. There are so many things that need to be done that it's just mind boggling. And the restrictions that are placed on trying to get a channel set up and how long you have to wait for validation or confirmation of who you are and what you are. Each
And
platform
then me
something
going
different.
and forgetting to activate the time countdown timer for it really didn't help. I'm
You
just gonna
think?
make that clear.
You think? So that's why
Should
we
have done
couldn't
that
go
Monday. No, I should have done that Sunday
Sunday.
more.
Yeah.
No, we got it set up yeah, I should have done that Monday morning, but I forgot until 3 in the afternoon my time, which is way too late for today.
Right.
So, we're stuck here one more day.
Right. Maybe. It all depends on what happens on Wednesday. So it
No,
could
it'll be
be
ready. It's good to go depending
well,
on how you're doing.
right, and
Depends on
that's yeah,
Wednesday.
and that's prefaced with, if I come in going, "Blah, blah, 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 blah," I come slobbering,
If that's the
so
case, I will do a throw together thing on questions that
right,
need answers, and we'll do Rex Sisters on Thursday.
but you do want me to call you as soon as I
Oh,
leave the
yes.
office, yes.
Yes, because if you sound like your entire face has been Novocaine, I want that. Are you kidding?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. It'll be
Um,
very interesting.
Let me grab the Rex Sisters logo so
Okay.
people will Oh, I gotta drop the links for that too. Shoot, I will drop the links in the chat,
Yes, we'll
um,
have a
and I'll set up a
I
banner really quick for
okay,
it.
and what about our, I didn't even think about the Discord.
Oh, yeah, I gotta get I think I have that too.
You can tell
So,
we're organized today.
yeah, it's just been
It's
good.
okay.
Oh, that's the intro, but it's not playing,
Correct, and we don't want
but
it to play yet because 'cause we're not ready,
not
but,
completely.
yeah, we're close, we
Get
are
in there.
yeah, we're getting there. So in our Discord, you'll see a little intro of basically what happens when a person from the North meets a person from the South and form a friendship, a great friendship over the past year and a half of people, of, times that we agree, we disagree. I don't, maybe we had two arguments, maybe, but we were able to always come back to resolve situations.
Oh, yeah.
But we found that we kept making the same statement over and over. That was a commonality between the two, and that was that we were like we would go, man, I'm really a wreck today, And Crazy Bee would be like, this is just wrecked. And so Wrecked Sisters uh, became our theme. And then you'll see the questions that need answers uh, is underneath the umbrella of Wrecked Sisters. And then furthermore is Insomniac Theater, which we were kicking around a June 1st launch, but I think we're going to wait till after summer and launch it after Labor Day. We want to make sure that Wrecked Sisters and questions that need answers have the attention that should be afforded to them. And so we're going to probably hold off on the Insomniac Theater. And that
For a
piece
little bit.
is, yeah, that's going to be the fun part of it, where people can come on and chat uh, music, books, cooking, any kind of fun types of things we're looking for. Those people that are up in the middle of the night or even up during the day. You never know when we're going to go live on that channel, perhaps, or we could post a video. We're not quite sure. That's in development.
Yep.
So that's kind of where this all out of a conversation has led us to here. And this has been a lot of work. As I mentioned before, this studio that we're using, Crazy Bee, has done a phenomenal job of getting that up and running. And now she has to teach, yeah, dingbat over here, how to use it. Uh,
Oh, don't go there. I'm
yeah,
gonna,
yeah, yeah,
create
we
a
won't.
couple
We and I
banners.
have a new laptop that hopefully is going to be able to. It will support what we need. I mean, if I'm working off my phone and tablet, the new computer will work wonderfully. Uh, and also the other kudo I'd like to give Crazy Bee is she took what was in my head and what I told her I was looking for in the development of the logo, and I think she deserves great kudos for that, because I would tell her what thought was in my head, from the gradient of the orange to the purple to the whole circle piece. And I don't know how many of you noticed, but if it didn't look overwhelming, I think we would have done it, but it was a little bit much. But when I look at this, I see a record, an old 45 that had the little yellow clip that you'd pop in the middle and drop it in the on your record player. And I've had more than one person say that they thought it looked like a record as well. So I think we're a wrecked record playing for however long this goes. So
Yep.
Crazy Bee, you want to say anything about where we're at, or how this
We've got
developed?
well, the good news is we've got the next 3 weeks pretty much planned and ready to go for Wrecked
Hmm.
Sisters.
Yeah, we've done a lot of behind the scenes work with content, and one of our
Mhm.
goals was that we didn't want to be trying to rush and get a show put together, because we actually were working on shows that right up before we'd go live, we'd be saying, "What are we doing?" and trying to add things. So now we're going to try to be ahead of the game. We may find more information that we want to add to it as we continue. And I think next week, you guys are going to be in for a good treat. And then each week, we're going to try to have a theme of what we want to discuss. And there'll
Yep.
be deeper dives. Uh, the content is, I think, for next week, phenomenal of what's been put together. So,
Oops. I Oh my god. I Can I
what?
edit this? Cuz I'm a dingbat.
Go ahead.
Oh my god. Go ahead. No, you keep talking. I'm just being a dingbat.
Yeah, well, hey, I was one earlier. So, um, but I have to say, the work that the two of us have put in, I think Crazy Bee has done a phenomenal job with the studio, playing around with that, getting that up and running, and then having to use other programs to develop the logos. And, as you saw earlier, she came up with a logo that she wanted to change her questions that need answers. And then the Insomniac Theater is still in development. But one thing I will say about that is, so several people's goal is to try to turn me into a metalhead or rock, whatever. and that isn't my genre. So I've committed to listening to that stuff, but it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every
Which is
song
a
they
kind of
play,
unfair because I'm open to all kinds of music.
that's que sera, sera. That's the way it is on this channel. So she
But
doesn't have a choice.
I want to address this really quick. Shu has a really great question. Are we going to announce the theme of the week, the week
Mm,
in advance,
yeah, we
or just
could.
surprise them?
We could, but if we told you what next week was, you could go, I ain't tuning in. But so if we didn't tell you and you came in, it would be a surprise now, wouldn't it? But what do
But
you
if
think, Crazy
it's
B?
something they're truly interested in, they can adjust their schedule to be here.
I doubt that. Not from 3 to 5. They're probably at work listening to us or on their way home in the car or listening to us after the fact.
Mm.
But okay, so go ahead, Crazy B. You can spring what the plans are for next week. And then depending on how many views we get, will determine whether or not at the end of the week we tell them what the following week is. So go
So,
ahead, talk about it and what the
our
plan.
first week, we're going to be breaking down what is the economy and the different things that impact it, and all these buzzwords that are going around in the news. We're going to start breaking down what they are. Got some videos, articles. We're going to have a nice long conversation over the 3, 4 days of the week to really get deeper into what these terms are that are being thrown around, whether they're really good or bad, and how they actually impact us.
Right. So can you give an example of one?
What tariffs are. We have a nice video and a couple of articles explaining what tariffs are, how they work, and what people are impacted. Kind of like how I was explaining to my son, because he's like, doesn't that hurt the auto workers? And I had to explain only the ones that don't manufacture 100% in America.
Hmm.
So there's a big old breakdown coming from this.
But then the question is, and you heard Trump say that if you buy American, you don't get hit with the 25% tariff.
Oh, Art
So what?
says if you want to discuss type video, you need to give people advance notice so they can read the assigned materials.
Oh, we can do that. There are test questions at the end. If you fail, you might not pass to the next level there, Art. So
Mhm.
you got to be paying attention because we'll be sneaking things in. You might catch a buzzword or, something might flash on the screen at you that says these two are nuts. And then at the end, we're going to ask you what was the question.
I'm gonna rig the subliminal message and
Uh
see
huh.
how many of you catch the
Uh
the assignment subliminally.
huh. We'll see how many of you can pull that off.
Except that is 100% illegal. I will not be doing that. It is just so you guys know that was made illegal thanks to MK Ultra type experiments. Anyways, we're not going to do that.
No, but we could certainly just within our material have a
Yeah,
slide come
I
across.
no. I What I
Right.
mean is that like
I
you
know what you
cannot
mean.
have it hidden
I know.
the way they used to do the sex and the
Oh,
ice
yep.
cream, the ice cube things and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Right.
I know everyone here is pretty much old enough to remember it. I don't think there's any like teenagers. Well, my son knows about that kind of stuff, so I guess it depends on the person. But yeah.
So that's the plan. And so next
Mhm.
week um, is economic week,
Yep.
and hopefully a lot of you will tune in because there's so much, as Crazy B said, that we hear these words and we have these assumptions about things. But once you start to learn and understand, and you hear the propaganda that's being thrown about from the left or the right,
Yep.
uh, and you try to seek the truth, and then you go, huh, this is really what should be put out there in the news, and it's not. So
Or at least it's not getting covered enough.
right, right. All right, so what do we got up? So again, today is a kind of filler day because we can't get our act together.
Well,
But
we're gonna throw
stop.
in some stuff, but then we're gonna finish the rest of the video from the last episode
Why don't
that we
we?
did.
Yeah, do you want to? Let's do that first. Is that okay?
We can take things out of order. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, but I thought about just let's get him out of the way because I think we should pay him the homage he's deserved. So, what day was that on Sunday? We were watching David Hansen,
Yep.
uh, talking about various topics, and we left off in at a certain portion of the video, and I guess let's pick up from there and go forward.
Okay, let me back it up just a smidge.
So hold on. Oops, here's me. Oh, D. Uh-oh. Up. I'm touching stuff again. I was trying to read the comment there, Crazy B.
Oh, sorry. It's okay. You can read it.
Well, I
Any
can't. I can't read it. So I, when I touched it, I started, doing this stuff again. So
oh,
I'm like,
that stuff. Here.
yeah. So go ahead. You read it, okay? You drop it down there. I'm not touching a thing.
Usually, tariffs are used to prevent flooding the market with cheap goods which harm local producers. Trump isn't using them that way, and I don't really think he understands the concept. Exactly. Part of my issue with it, too. But then again, we're also being used by other countries. We're being tariffed out the nose, and they benefit more than us.
And
It's
yeah.
like
So how do you?
North and South are
Yeah.
very good explanations.
Right. So we'll save that. Hold on a second. Let me do a screenshot of that. Pull that back up in.
Oh, it is up. The comment's still there. I just
Well, I
removed the
can't see,
banner.
but the problem is I can't see it.
Oh, here, I'll take a screenshot and send it to you.
Okay, thanks. So we'll use that as a question from the audience because I don't want to get into that right now.
Yeah, that is a definitely next week
Yes, right,
conversation.
correct. So let's play the rest of the video and then we can go forward
I'm
with the
sending
rest.
this to you quickly, and I will
Thank you.
go back from there.
Okay.
Okay, so
So
um,
remember, he makes some very good points. I don't recall if he said it in the on Sunday, but you will see what Trump is doing to, in a way, chokehold
yeah,
LA. I would say chokehold is a good word in order to force them to meet his demands. But I
yep.
think that's further in the video. So let's hit play, and if it was earlier, we can go back and address it.
Okay,
percent, and they inherited one of the most sophisticated, complex systems in the world. I mean, gosh, we had these. What gets me so angry and why I'm animated is that generation that we trash and we call racists and xenophobes and homophobes, and they created this, you know, junior college system that fed into the state college system, 23 campuses that fed into the 9UC that was anchored and partnered with Caltech and Stanford and USC. And then in addition to that, they transferred all of this water from the wet north to the parched south with this aqueduct and penstocks and hundreds of reservoirs, and had the most sophisticated airports and I-5, 99, one. They were all ahead. And then this generation took over, last two, and just sat there and said these people were polluters. They weren't sensitive to the environment. They weren't sensitive to LGBT and trans. They weren't sensitive to reparation. And they just milked it, and they didn't invest. And they squandered money. And now everybody knows it. And the biggest problem they're having right now is they don't know what to do about the Hispanic population, because about half of all the people who came illegally the last 60 years from across the southern border came to California. And that, if you're a humane society and you want to give parity to people who are dire poverty, often working a minimum wage, then you have to offer health, housing, food, legal, educational subsidies to give them some semblance of a parity. Well, they did do that, and it was an enormous drain. And people who were paying the taxes over the last 50 years and looked at the public school system and crime, and they just said, There's better places. And so I don't know how many have left, but there's been estimates of 5 to 10 million people in the last 50. They just left. But now the left doesn't know what to do because the Hispanic population is in the second and third generation.
Yeah.
And they're middle class and upper middle class, and they're not all left anymore. And they're looking at what's happened, and they're saying, I don't want to pay for this. I work very hard. I shouldn't have to pay 10, 12% increases, 10, 12% sales taxes. I can't afford the property. And I don't want all these people on public assistance anymore. And I can't afford the power. And I don't like this new Green Deal agenda.
Crazy B,
And
can you
all of a
stop
sudden
for
the
a
left is
second?
saying, oh
Yes, I
my
can.
God. You
I-
tell me why the...
If
Go
I
ahead.
recall correctly, wasn't it 1 out of every 3 was on some type of assistance?
1/3 of the
1/3.
nation's
Mm-hmm.
welfare recipients are in California.
Correct. And so he's saying that there's 3 generations of the Hispanic population that has come here illegally.
Mhm.
What do we do with that?
Don't know.
What do you do with the 3 generations that are obviously they're going to claim, birthright, and Trump has signed the executive order and that's been taken to the court, which they ultimately believe I think is going to the Supreme Court
I
to
believe so, yes.
to argue that case. But okay, say that birthright remains. What
Mhm.
happens to the original people that came illegally? Are they going to pick them up and send them back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
that was
the
the
plan,
plan
isn't
last
it?
I knew.
Yeah.
Yes.
So are we talking like if it's 3 generations, we're up to what the kids, the grandparents basically are going to have to go?
Grandparents, parents,
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
Wow. It's very interesting.
I like Arby. Send them all back.
Yeah. I'm with you, RB. I'm sorry, but after seeing the devastation to our country, I told you when our people are taken care of, vets, our homeless, when my friends have food on their table and not have to try to scramble, then I'll say come here legally. But if you're illegal, I don't. I'm
I
sorry.
gotta find this one video I was looking at. They were talking to some homeless people out in California, and the guy was saying, "Why the hell would I want to go get a job in a house when I got everything provided
Yep.
for me for free?"
Mm-hmm.
We don't
Mm-hmm.
have enough incentive to get people off the streets.
Right.
That's part of our problem. We make it
Right.
too easy to be homeless.
Yes. I mean, look at well, we have some information later we'll be providing, but just real brief. There was an interview conducted up in New York with the homeless,
Mhm.
and they're living in shelters. In one place, there are 60 men sleeping on cots. So these cots are like back to back to back.
Yep.
Then they show a picture of illegals with a king size bed, the little kitchenette and everything. Beautiful view, beautiful everything. Maid service every day, food service every day, money, little scooter to go get your job and everything. And they're
Yep.
living in a hotel. Now you
Yep.
explain that. And these people who were vets or ended up homeless going, why weren't we moved over there as American citizens? Why are
Why do
we,
they get to
yeah,
go?
why are we in the squalors? Yeah,
Yep.
it's sad.
Oh, a video of a New York politician saying when something about there's never been a homeless American or homeless families, and oh, she gets called right out. Oh yes, that's all coming up.
I mean, I've told you before, there's a content creator that I follow. They these are people that live out of their vehicles, and so it goes from the smallest of cars, two-door cars. I don't know how they do it, to I don't want to say luxury, but to campers and things like that. So they travel from federal lands in Arizona, and they get to stay, say, I don't know the exact time, but they get to stay for certain lengths of time, and then they have to move on to another place.
Yeah.
Well, in Arizona, there's no bathrooms, there's no running water, there's no grocery stores, there's nothing. So it's who can get into town to bring food back, groceries, etc. And then
Mhm.
once a month, whatever they need, they travel over to Mexico. They have dental, eye, you know, PCPs, uh, grocery shop, and do whatever. They go down as a group and to stay safe, and they get whatever they need at the cheapest of prices. It appears to be that the quality is excellent. I can't guarantee that statement, but it appears to be. Uh, the cleanliness and everything of all the shops and everything doesn't. I don't see places like that here in the United States. It certainly isn't where I live.
Well, no, and again, but Mexico also has a different, level of regulations on this stuff
Hmm.
we have, and that's a big difference, the bureaucracy that makes the medical care here so complicated.
Well, it has gotten to the point where there are websites that you can go on and get if you think you're sick. Instead of going to your PCP, you just hit up this website from Mexico and you can get Augmentin, Bactrim, penicillin. Anything you want is now being shipped over, and I don't know how that's being pulled off
Yep.
without that being regulated, but it is happening.
Well, again, it's an antibiotic, it shouldn't be regulated anyways.
Yeah, right,
My personal opinion. Now there's some really strong ones that, but again, in America, you have to prove there's an infection basically to get the
get
antibiotic.
exactly.
You have to
Well,
prove you have asthma to get your inhaler. Like I said, I have a freaking allergy to bee stings. Thank God I'm only 5 minutes from the hospital, but if they want me to get an EpiPen, I gotta go to an allergist.
right,
Obviously, I have allergies. Why do I gotta go to an allergist? My throat swelled shut. The ER saying, "Here's the script for Epi," should be enough. No,
right,
I have to go see an allergist.
right.
My throat's swelling shut. Nope, you still gotta see an allergist, but we'll give you epinephrine while you're here. We'll inject it right through that little IV port right there, and you'll be all good.
Well, the issue that I've
Oh,
always heard from, right, I was just going to say that RB creating antibiotic resistance. And that is because I'd have to deal with infectious disease. So
yeah,
it
your
is like,
case is very
yeah,
unique.
but I will tell you, knowing myself, and I call and say, like for example, I just went through some testing. I need to be on an antibiotic. I've already tried the top of the line antibiotic that you could have. Now I need IV antibiotics. It is going to be a fight to try to get infectious disease to even cooperate because they're like, you're at the top of the line. You can't take anything else. You only have two more drugs you can try. And if that doesn't work, then you're dead the next time. And I'm like, whatever. But
Yeah,
if I
I
go
see
to the,
Arby's point here too. People who come in and just they cough twice and all of a sudden they think they need antibiotics and start
that's
demanding it.
true too.
I see that all the time.
Yeah, that's true too. So, but we digress as usual. And that's why we have questions that need more answers.
I think we need our society to be less germophobic,
True. Uh, I can
but that's
recall,
my personal opinion,
yeah.
not medical advice in any way, fashion, or form.
Yeah, we do not
Just
give yeah.
personal opinions here.
My grandma used to say you needed to eat a bucket of dirt before you die. And so uh, I think that we need to have the kids uh, be a little bit more, playing in the dirt. And I don't see that much as when we were little kids and we were talking about how we were thrown outside. We don't recall eating breakfast or lunch. We think they
Yep.
put us we think they put us out as soon as we got up and we came back in when the street lights were on, or we came back for dinner and they sent us back out. I don't remember having breakfast or lunch ever.
I remember my mom would make us breakfast. If we came in saying we were hungry, we'd get
Yeah.
like a hot dog or a sandwich thrown at us. I'll give medical advice. Well, you have the legal right to give
Right.
medical advice. We need to move away from acute care to preventative care. Patient satisfaction. Oh my God! I will learn to read. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
Satisfaction should be one of the few things that we pay attention to as compared to outcome. Believe it or not, I had a college level reading comprehension by fifth grade. You wouldn't know it with the way I read out loud.
That's funny.
Antibiotic overuse is directly because of patient satisfaction bullshit. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I could not agree more. I know you and Arby and I've talked about this
Right.
probably a dozen different times since I've met him,
Right.
because 'cause I've worked in medicine before as well. Yeah, like,
With
seriously, we
with the
could sit
new
here and tell you
yeah,
everything wrong with the medical field.
right.
We could do, like, f an entire
And
week.
that would be appropriate for questions that need answers.
Yeah.
Uh,
We
that's the
could
type of thing that
literally
would
just
go on a
sit there
channel. Right.
and
That
tear
would
that apart. Like,
Mhm.
someone was saying, something on X earlier today about the NSAID people, who all deserve to get laid off and they shouldn't be allowed to come back. And I'm like, hold up. When I worked in medicine, I worked for a doctor's office that was committing insurance fraud. And there's a catch 22 when you have to report it.
Mhm.
If you report it, you also got to send in proof of it, which means revealing patient information, which means HIPAA's violated. So, it's a really tough thing as a medical assistant to say, hey, insurance company, feds,
Pay
look at
attention. Right.
this,
Right.
without sounding like the crazy employee. And then when you provide proof, you're violating HIPAA. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of crazy. The other
Yep.
the other thing that's been interesting is with the baby being born. My son has been adamant in rejecting uh, vaccines. And he said they were at the doctor's last week, and he said, I'm not adverse to what you want to give him, but I want to give him time to build up some natural immunity. And I'd like to wait maybe, 4 to 6 months out versus giving him stuff now. And surprisingly, the the doctor that he has is the doctor that I took him to as a little kid. So it's pretty cool to see the interaction. But he agreed, and we had talked about him potentially saying, "Nope, you're out of the practice because you're not following our guidelines." But they agreed to it, so
Yep.
I was surprised. So I think if more and more people kind of looked at that, you know,
Hmm.
it could
Well,
go.
I've been really blessed with my kids, and now that they're adults, um, and stuff. Um, all of the pediatricians I took them to up until they're now adults,
Right.
um, I could reject the flu and a couple other what I deem not really necessary for my kids based on their health and talking with the doctor. So I sat there and I'm like, "Doc, they're overall healthy. I don't think they need the flu. I don't think they need the pneumonia." And the doc's like, "Yeah, you're right. So we'll skip those ones." But I
Mhm.
gave my kids polio, I
Right.
gave them the DDT,
MMR.
the
MMR.
DTaP, the all of those
Right.
at the appropriate stages. Both my kids got the one for the HPV. So at the appropriate time because it had just hit the market. So it's like, yes, one each,
Yeah.
please and thank
And,
you.
and Crazy Bee, I think maybe we should look at that as a topic for questions that need answers.
Yeah,
That piece. Uh, from what we've been reading on our end as far as the vaccines and that go, and I think this all got brought to light because of, COVID. Uh,
careful
it,
how you say this
I
going forward
understand.
because I've already gotten in trouble
I'm not
once.
saying a word about the
Okay.
COVID vaccine, but I'm just saying I think that led to people now checking further into what the other vaccines are and what they do, and there some ties to potential medical conditions that could occur in the future. Yeah, the MMR did it. Yep.
No, well, you missed the
I
one
What
before.
did he say before?
Well, that explains why Crazy Grub is so crazy. And it's a shame he's not down here.
Yeah, but Arby, you might be a good guest to have on the program.
Just to break down what the vaccine is
Right,
for, not the pros and cons of it, just what it's for and
right,
why it's to a degree why it's needed. I don't wanna get anybody in trouble. So
right.
we can break down, yes, this set of vaccines are needed for this, that, and the other, and we can break them down, and we're not gonna go into side effects or anything like that, that's gonna get us in trouble. Not, "You should take this one, you shouldn't." That's a personal choice between you and your doctor.
Right.
Just, explaining what they are and the diseases that they protect against.
Mhm.
I
So
think that is a
so
brilliant one.
yeah, so I'm not allowed to say then, "Oh, I'm not getting that one unless you hold me down." I mean, I could say that as long as I don't identify the
Mhm.
vaccine. Is that allowable?
Um,
Permissible?
well, I haven't mentioned a couple of vaccines that I have personally opted out of.
Okay.
So, there's some that I have personally opted out of, either because I'm allergic to them or I don't think there's a medical need for it in
Yeah.
my specific situation. And again, that has been a long discussed conversation with a doctor who had known me. Well, first I saw him 20 something years ago, then I left for a few years, and then I came back and he was more than glad and he actually remembered me.
Cool.
So, yes, and I came back with more medical knowledge than I went in with. So, he was very happy that I went into the career of medical assisting and stuff, and we would sit and have I didn't he probably I hope he billed for longer appointments because he and I would sit and discuss in detail the prescription he is writing me, why we're doing it, the pros and cons of it, are there alternatives that might be cheaper or work better? Oh, yes, trust me. If he was probably if he probably felt like he was talking to a colleague by the time I
Well,
walked out of there.
that's interesting because I had several doctors give me a 5-minute once over, and then they'd be talking HR stuff going, "D, how do I get rid of this employee?" Or,
Yep.
whatever. So,
But,
that
oh,
was
we really need to get back on track
yeah, we do.
with the video.
You think?
Yes, I
This
do.
is how this is how stuff happens. We eventually get to where we're going, but sometimes
Yeah.
it
We
takes a
got
while.
kind of totally sidetracked, but yes, let's get back to the video where we were. Man, we went from kick out
Uh-huh.
illegals to we need to talk about doing a video explaining
Uh-huh.
which each vaccine is with an actual medical provider present to give it advice, not advice, but to help break it down. Yeah, we'll work on that later.
All right.
Let's hit play.
Mayor of the third largest city in the United States at fire season, and she goes off to Africa for the inauguration of the president of Ghana. With all due respect, Mayor, who cares? You have an obligation to the 6 million people of greater Los Angeles. The point is, all controlled and subjugated by the same people who gave us the fire.
The narrative surrounding Joe Biden's mental and physical fitness for office has been one of the most misleading and contentious debates of recent years.
You've all heard about the disastrous fire in Los Angeles. As I'm speaking on a Wednesday night, there's been 15,000 acres, 1,000 structures
That is a
destroyed.
lot.
Nobody knows how many people are missing. And how do we characterize this? Everybody's talking about the Santa Ana winds, climate change.
Anyone who questioned Biden's capabilities was quickly
Hold on.
dismissed as
I want to pause. I really struggle when they call it climate change because we have climate patterns and we know that the long term sense, like even before recorded history, what we've been able to determine from different soil levels and stuff. Eh,
Aren't we going to do a climate change?
I
I
think we
think
should do
yeah.
one. I think we
And
should, but I got to be very careful. We have to be super careful how we word it so it don't get taken down.
well, what's interesting? Uh-oh. What did I do? I got an error. Oh, hold on. Where am I?
I don't know. You're still on the screen.
Okay, hold on. Am I live? Yeah, hold on. I'm somewhere else. I'm up in the. Somehow the government popped up. The government was like they're after us already. Uh, they've now changed the wording from climate change to extreme weather. So they're trying to change the narrative again. And
Do you, how many times has it been changed in your life? I know they
I,
started this crap back in the 50s.
mhm. I wasn't born then, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you were
Don't
after
even
that.
go there.
But
I was
I
not
said
alive
after
anywhere
that.
in the
I
50s.
said after that. I didn't say what year.
Okay. I have no clue what they called it after that until
But no, like all these crisis scares with the
right.
environment and stuff,
Mhm.
it bothers
Red,
me
yeah.
ever
With
so much
Greenpeace. Greenpeace was
because
a big one. Yeah.
yeah, oh, Greenpeace still exists.
I know they do.
They're
I
still paying actually on a lawsuit that they got in trouble for about a decade and a half ago, I believe.
hmm
Um, so yeah, I'm just and again, I'm not trying to get sidetracked. I just want to point out it's just another to me only. I'm not speaking for anyone else. It's just another way to fearmonger us.
Right.
But we'll look into it and see what we find.
There you go.
So let me hit play and I just want to say if we really were worried about trees, I mean, about the climate, we'd be planting more plants and trees, not cutting
Right.
them down
Well,
and stopping farmers.
I
Just
think,
going to point this out.
yeah, and I think we need to pay attention. I think there's, well, I won't say what I believe that's out there, but
Yeah.
the fires of, think about Hawaii, and we got what's going on in California, the issue with the floods and no water or too much water and no assistance. Like the people in North Carolina are still struggling,
Yeah.
living in tents. Like they lived in tents and motorhomes with, barely any.
Over almost a year now.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as I mentioned, I'm hearing things going across the globe now where fires are occurring where it normally doesn't. And they're saying, oh, it's due to the dry weather and the, tinder and this and that and the other thing. So it's interesting,
Yeah.
I
It's
say,
just something I think
conspiracy
we should
theory.
definitely dig
Yeah.
into.
Yeah. Conspiracy theory, I think that I'm trying to make, I guess.
Yep.
But we can look at it. All right.
All right. Let me hit play so I can quit rambling on tangents. So here we go.
ageist, or heartless, despite legitimate concerns over his cognitive state.
I mean everybody, the people in power, but it was preventable. And once it started, this fire, it could have been assuaged. You could have had it lessened, that the severity didn't have to be as catastrophic. So I would characterize it as a DEI, Green New Deal, hydrogen. It's something out of Dante's Inferno.
This has turned into one of the most significant cover-ups in modern American history, reminiscent of the concealment of Woodrow Wilson's stroke by political insiders.
And what I mean by that is it's a systems breakdown, a civilizational collapse. When you look at the people in charge, Gavin Newsom flew in to sort of do these performance art stunts, but he has systematically ensured that water out of the Sacramento River and the watershed of Northern California would go out to the sea rather than into the aqueduct. So Los Angeles didn't have sufficient amounts of water. He bragged not very long ago that he put up 4 dams on the Klamath River. They provided 80,000 homes with clean hydroelectric power. They offered recreation, flood control, irrigation. He put them up. California's fire management, whether we look at the Paradise Fire or the Aspen Fire near where I'm speaking, it destroyed 60 million trees. We have no timber industry in California.
The proximity of the coronavirus outbreak to the Wuhan virology lab, coupled with the knowledge of gain-of-function research, raises uncomfortable questions that remain unanswered.
Hey.
He's dismantled it. We don't clean the forest. We don't let loggers come in and have a viable livelihood by harvesting trees. It's sort of considered natural to let these things burn, or to at least create the conditions in which they will inevitably inevitably burn. It's almost as we don't like humans. We worry about grubs and worms and birds and the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Second breakdown was the mayor, Karen Bass, was in Africa. You tell me why the mayor of the third largest city in the United States at fire season, when she had been warned and warned for days on end that the Santa Ana winds were up to 100 miles an hour in the evening and there was a danger of fire, and she goes off to Africa for the inauguration of the president of Ghana? With all due respect, Mayor Bob, who cares? You have an obligation to the 6 million people of greater Los Angeles. So, and then we have the fire chief. I don't really care that I don't care any of that. All I do care is her emphases. She's been bragging for the last 2 years that her goal was to make sure it was diverse and inclusive. That can be good if it's competent. But when you announce that 70% of your hiring will not be meritocratic, but will be based on diversity, equity, inclusion, then you're not putting the interest of your constituents first. There wasn't enough water pressure in Pacific Palisades. Pacific Palisades is not where I live. It's one of the wealthiest, most exclusive neighborhoods in the United States. If they don't have water, then no one's going to get water, believe me. There's not enough insurance. There were famous actors that didn't have insurance. Why?
What's disturbing?
Wait, there were famous people who didn't have fire insurance?
The cost is exorbitant. I mean, I can't imagine what it would be on $10 million home or $50 million.
It's cheaper to rebuild?
Probably.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Remember earlier on in the video, they talked about how with having that third of the population, how the costs had skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then combined with if you're in an area that has, hurricanes, tornadoes, flooding, things of that nature, your insurance, your homeowner's insurance, which I don't know about other states, but where I live, it's required if you get a mortgage that you have homeowner's insurance.
Yep.
So when they come out to do an inspection, they're looking now where I live. I have to laugh because they come out to see if there was going to be a flood. And I was like, okay, I think you'd better look for. We actually pay a little bit more money for how big the trees are. And remember, 2 years ago, we had a tree collapse on the newly built addition that Jacob slept in. And
Mhm.
so we have to be careful with, they go like 180 feet tall and they're everywhere. And so when the winds come through and knock something over, that costs extra money. And even though you have the insurance, do you believe our rates went up the following year? Because they're going to get their money back one way or another.
Oh, yeah.
They had to pay out on that claim. But
Yep.
our homeowners policy went up. And then even after you have you pay your mortgage off, in my opinion, I would still carry the homeowners because it covers pretty much everything. Like if the septic system failed, it would cover that. If something happened to the propane, it would cover that. If the roof blew off, it would cover that. But with that comes cost, and that's what's going on here in California. They can't afford it.
Art says between the land and the house, it has a total of 1.5 to 2 million. It may cost 500K to rebuild the house, plus insurance companies wouldn't insure anything in fire areas of California. Okay.
Because there was so much burning that was going on. I mean, you just turned on the news and every day it was just something different that was on fire. And
Mhm.
but now that it's hit the richest areas, oh, now you could bet something's going to be done. Now you could bet that things are going to be different because it's affected the rich.
Yep.
Before they could look, down upon the middle class and the poor and say, it's not me. But now
Yep.
it's a little bit of a different story. But This is going to be interesting what you're going to hear next. So go ahead.
All right,
Hit it.
let me
Hit
hit
it,
play.
hit it
Thing
crazy.
about these widespread falsehoods is that no one has ever been held accountable or apologized for the harm they've caused to the American people.
Really? That's a
This
surprise.
industry is overregulated. It's fraught with people who make fraudulent claims. And the insurance industry knows that California is hostile to it, but more importantly, that it will never clean up its forest or take preventive, time-tried, ancient protocols to lessen the dangers of fire. And so put it all together, whether it's a deliberate policy to not store water, not preserve water. Last year was one of the wettest years that we've had. We've had 3 out of the last 4 years have been very, very wet. We had a huge snowpack. We had rivers that were running in 19th century fashion, but out to the sea to save the Delta smelt. So it was a total
To hell with the
systems
smelt.
collapse from the idea of not spending money on irrigation, storage, water, fire prevention and forest management, a viable insurance industry, a DEI hierarchy. You put it all together, and it's something like a DEI Green New Deal hydrogen.
I have a stupid
Gavin
question.
Newsom was.
What was that?
I have a stupid question. Why couldn't they have just built like a big net across the thing and catch the smelt and then just rehouse them somewhere else? Like put them in the smelt pond.
These smelt are the size of frickin' sardines.
Well, that okay.
They don't need to be rehoused anywhere. They're
They
fine.
didn't they use them for bait actually? Is that
Yeah.
correct? Yeah, okay.
And like you get your squirrels, raccoons, other critters that are smaller predators will eat them. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yep. So
I don't know anything
honestly,
about the smelt, so I didn't know what size or anything they were.
oh,
Okay.
they're tiny. They're
All right.
tiny.
That seems so he changed the river's flow just in order to accommodate a teeny tiny fish is what you're saying.
Yep.
But meanwhile, millions of people didn't have water and there was nothing in the reservoir to wow.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's the thing. At every level, there's with whatever's going on, the fires, the floods that have happened, the issue with the C word, uh, all of that. No, Afghanistan, all of that. Nobody's nobody's been fired. Nobody's gone to jail. Nobody's been investigated. There's no accountability.
Yep. There hasn't been
Nope.
since when was the last? Oh yeah, the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay.
When we said enough.
Right.
Yeah, we really have not held corrupt politicians accountable.
Right. Right.
And that is something that we have planned in the works too.
Alleged. They're alleged corrupt politicians. Allegedly.
I didn't say who we were even talking
I
about
know. I
yet.
know. I'm just throwing that out there just in case. They are alleged corrupt politicians, but we shall see.
I need to make like this little picture that we could put up to say allegedly
Uh-huh.
for us.
Yes, because that's going
And
to be
then I just turn it on while we're talking and it has it on the whole video. Or you know what? On the videos when we're editing, I
yeah,
can just put allegedly across the
correct.
top.
Because everything and that's a sad statement to make in of itself. We talked
Yeah.
about it earlier with so we watch a video with somebody, you know,
Careful which one's stealing
I'm not going
something.
to say it, but
Yeah.
allegedly doing harmful acts to another person. And it's obvious on the video of what they did, and yet they go to court and go, the alleged person did whatever to the other person. And you're like, what do you mean alleged? You could see it on the camera, but I digress.
Yep.
But everything has to now be prefaced with these buzzwords so that you don't get into trouble on social platforms, but more importantly, you're not taken to court to be sued for defamation.
Yep. Which is not fair,
Right.
by the way. Just
Right.
gonna point that out. Not fair.
Oh well, what can you do?
All right.
We're the underlings. Go ahead. What do we got up? Keep going. Hit it, crazy Pete.
Fiddling. He's almost Nero Newsom. And this has been something that is just unimaginable, this systems breakdown. And to finish, what we're seeing in California is a state with 40 million people. And yet the people who run it feel that it should return to a 19th century pastoral condition. They are de-civilizing the state and de-industrializing the state and de-farming the state, but they're not telling the 40 million people that their lifestyles will have to revert back to the 19th century when you had no protection from fire, you didn't have enough water in California, you didn't have enough power, you didn't pump oil.
Now we're witnessing a disturbing pattern where left-wing organizations are targeting judges, all in the name of thwarting political opposition, particularly against Donald Trump.
So we are deliberately making these decisions not to develop energy, not to develop a timber industry, not to protect the insurance industry, not to protect houses and property. And we're doing it in almost a purely nihilistic fashion. And Karen Bass should resign. She came to the airport back from Africa. She had nothing to say. She was confronted at the airport. Why were you in Africa? Why did you cut the fire department? They cut the fire department by almost $18 million. They gave fire protective equipment to first responders. And she had nothing to say. She had nothing to say because she couldn't say anything. So my point is, the perfect storm of water mismanagement, timber mismanagement, insurance mismanagement, civic government mismanagement, the role of DEI, they're all in place. It's almost like all of these matches are still here, and then nature is in place. And by that I mean the Santa Ana winds, the dryness, no storms on the horizon, the chaparral's still there. So why wouldn't there be another fire? And we're getting another fire, and we're going to have more and more thousands of people dislocated. We're going to have more billions of dollars, which begs this question. They don't have the resources as they look toward the 2028 Olympics, they being Los Angeles, to fix this problem. So Donald Trump does, but Donald Trump says, I will fix it and I will put a czar there if you change your timber and forest management and hillside management. If you release more water from the Sacramento tributaries and keep that aqueduct and all the reservoirs full, and if you reform your insurance industry so you don't cap what the insurance companies can charge so that they don't go broke, and if you look very carefully at how you hire people in water, power, and fire management. That's a lot of ifs, because Donald Trump is against another impediment. A lot of people look at this devastation, and I'm not kidding, and they think, wow, this is a way to build a new Los Angeles. High rises, light speed, light rail, density, low-income housing. We'll take Pacific Palisades, we'll take Pasadena, we'll make it into sort of a European village. And some of you have been to Italy or France, and outside of the major cities, you can see what we're talking about. Large high-rises, condos, green areas. I think given
like
the radical nature of...
Got it stopped.
When he talks about that, it reminds me shades of the WEF and the plans for, well, now I can't think of the word, it just went out of my head. What they want, super cities, is that correct?
Yes, the 15-minute cities.
Yes, 15-minute cities, that's right. And it sounds like this is almost what's going to happen here. Hopefully it doesn't, but there are going to be land grabs just like there was in Maui. And we've yet to hear what's going on over there, let alone what's going to go here. And so in 2028, they have the 4 events, the one I still can't think of, but they're doing the Olympics, the Super Bowl, the soccer, and one other thing. How we're already in the mid of 2025. I want to know, where are all these people at that don't have a home? Like, where are they being, and how do they even get rebuilding? I
I
mean,
don't know.
it's crazy. I mean, I know that when Trump was there, he had sent over equipment so that they could pick up the ashes, I guess, and move them out because it was so thick and heavy, and they couldn't get anything accomplished. And if you recall, we actually played that video where he berates Karen Bass right to her face.
Yeah.
Remember, they were sitting side by side, and she was talking about, oh, you have to go through the permitting process, then you have to do this, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, how long does that take to get done? And she goes, a year and a half.
Not
So
happening.
this would be what they would start building in 2027, if then.
Mhm.
But how are they going to pull off getting a city built together for the Olympics?
They're not going to be able to unless they change things up and Trump helps them.
Well, I think they're going to go for it, but even so, they're the time frame is off. How are they going
Uh-huh.
to build LA back in 3.5 years?
Well, there's a lot of people out there who can know how to swing a hammer and operate a circular saw.
Hmm?
They just got to get them. How
Yeah,
many homeless people used to work construction?
yeah. Maybe I should send Eric and EJ out that way.
There you go. Get a couple weeks break.
Yeah. I like not to help the people of LA. The first thing she says is, I get a couple weeks break. I love it. Oh, that's slick. Thank you. I
It's a
appreciate that.
win-win.
It is a win-win. A win-win for LA and a win-win for me. There you go. That's funny as shit. Thank you. Oh,
The Home Depot parking lot. That's where they'll find them. Yeah.
oh yeah, don't laugh. That's exactly what's at our Home Depots. Yep.
Mhm.
But
Uh,
now uh we've we've actually checked that, and I'll tell you what, they're not working for pennies anymore. They want some money, honey.
well, yeah, they've been bypassed for the
Uh-huh.
illegal free or cheap,
Yep. And
and now they're gonna start making some. I look, y'all screwed me over. It's time.
yep.
Yeah,
Very
and I
interesting.
can't say I blame them.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
You're
Here.
good.
Of the Trump counter revolution, we need to be very careful how we speak. We owe $37 trillion. We are running $1.7 trillion deficits. We are paying interest at $3 billion every day.
Donald Trump has stirred controversy again with his suggestion that Greenland's recent push for independence could potentially lead to the US absorbing the territory.
Donald Trump caused a stir again when he suggested that the recent independence vote in Greenland was a good news, and that someday, sometime, somewhere, the United States might have to absorb Greenland. I guess he meant militarily. That's not a wise thing to say, because we understand that Greenland is a huge, near continent-sized country with only 56,000 residents, and it's kind of a ossified colonial client of Denmark.
Regardless of Greenland's political status, there are clear avenues for partnership, whether it stays a colony of Denmark or pursues full independence.
But nevertheless, there are ways to partner with the people of Greenland, whether they remain a colony of Denmark or whether they're independent, that will keep Russia and China out. The same thing is true of Panama. We don't need to keep saying that we may someday, somewhere, need to use force to restore Panama. We don't really want, I don't think we want the Panama Canal back.
One of the key concerns behind recent diplomatic efforts is preventing China from controlling vital infrastructure, particularly the Panama Canal's entrances and exits.
All we want is, and we have achieved that, is not to have the Chinese controlling the exit and the entrance to the Panama Canal. And now it looks like American companies will assume those roles at, as I said, the exit and the entrance of the Panama Canal. It does no good to even suggest the United States would use military force. We have a treaty with Panama, we'll respect it. They have violated it, no doubt, by inviting in the Chinese. They've seen the error of their ways, and I think there's going to be some type of restoration in our relationship. Same thing with Greenland.
Given the radical shift of Trump's counter-revolutionary politics, it's crucial to tread carefully in how we discuss these events.
I think given the radical nature of the Trump counter-revolution, we need to be very careful how we speak. The quieter that we can be, the more effective and more encompassing can be the reforms. The louder you are, the less leverage and clout you'll have. So let's take a few examples very quickly. On the tariffs, and we're in a near tariff with Canada. Rather than keep threatening we're going to pay 25, we're going to have 25%, 50, and how dare you? We don't need anything you have. Why not try something different? Such as, we don't like tariffs necessarily. We didn't want to put tariffs on Canada. The whole idea of our North America Free Trade Association of the past was to eliminate tariffs. But for some reason, you, Canada, insidiously, incrementally, have been adding tariffs, and the result of that is that you're running a $50 billion surplus.
I have to agree with him. If Trump would have explained why he was doing the tariffs
Mm-hmm.
better, instead of turning it into a tariff war, I think that he would have had more support.
Correct. And when it's explained this way, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and again, Canada has been tariffing us out the nose for
Right.
decades.
Right.
And instead of saying we don't need them, well, we don't, but we're helping them. But why are they making us pay them? Okay, we have to pay Canada to help Canada refine their oil and take their lumber out. How's that? That is so corrupt.
Uh-huh. Big
That's
time.
like the mafia. Oh, pay us to not beat the crap out of you.
Right. Right.
And they're the bullies on the schoolyard.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
And
yeah,
again, it all just like follow the money. Where's the who has the money? Who's got the money? We think we might know, but allegedly, uh,
have you seen their free
that,
healthcare system up in
yeah,
Canada? That's
uh-huh.
where the money's going.
Well, uh, I don't know about the care, but it's free.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly.
right.
We're not gonna.
We won't go there.
uh, I like this. Trump's approach to Greenland is just stupid. But remember, Trump is really smart because he's rich, right? No, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say he's smart. Ruthless, definitely.
Uh-huh.
Smart, we're pushing the limit there.
Maybe I could hurry up and oh, I just better shut up. Go ahead, hit play.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm just being quiet. Go ahead.
Oh, hold on, one more thing.
La,
We're
la,
putting
la.
tariffs, American cars, folks. Actually, they're not even technically American cars. 90 a good chunk of the
Right,
production is done elsewhere, shipped here, and it's assembled here, not built here. If we were to build our cars 100% in America, those tariffs wouldn't make a damn
right.
difference.
And remember, we talked earlier, I think last week, a little bit about uh, we're looking at the parts that could be manufactured elsewhere, and even down to the electrical components that they're going to be charging for.
I've worked in a factory where we got the parts for the door handles. Yes, the Ford ones. I was just gonna say I worked for a subdivision of Ford where we assembled the car door handles, and not one of them was made in America. The boxes were made in America. They were assembled in America. The latches themselves came from Mexico. The clips and the pulley cables came from Canada. They weren't made in America.
Right.
Ford is only 57% made in America of the total production. Do
And
you know Toyota is more American produced than Ford, GM, and Chrysler?
hmm,
My family's been in the auto industry 4 generations now. Three generations. I've had family in the automotive industry,
were
and
they
a
illegal?
good
Were they
chunk of it.
illegals?
No, they're all American.
I'm just checking.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, when I see those bumper stickers that say "out of a job yet, keep buying foreign," I want to smack the person, not literally, but metaphorically, because they don't realize those vehicles are only assembled in America.
Right.
A lot of the parts are coming from Mexico and China because it's cheaper to have the people of Mexico, assemble the parts and then ship the smaller parts here to assemble into the bigger part. I think only engines and transmissions and axles, anything basically steel, the solid steel parts are being made in America. Everything else is from elsewhere.
Hmm.
Oh, he says the cars are produced in Canada for American consumers. It makes no sense. Exactly.
Yeah.
I keep
Yeah.
screaming, bring our jobs back. But we'll go through this next week when I'm really going to go off on this, probably. And I hope we can get it all done in 4 days. It may end up taking 7 to 8 because I'm going to be complaining about a lot of things in the process of the
And
tariffs.
I won't be able to help you guys because I might not be able to talk. Remember, I might be like, blah, 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 blah. And next week
Yeah.
I won't be able to control her. So
And don't get me started on how corrupt the UAW has gotten. Just, we're going to, let's go back to this so I shut up. Yeah, exactly. So again, if Canada would stop tariffing us on our
they're
own
right,
products and just enjoy the fact that we cannot tariff them in return, it's just, if you are connected physically to the United States, there should not be tariffs between us.
right.
I'm just going to put that out there
And they continue to year after year run a surplus
on us. And
on us. Yeah, they've made money off of us for the goods that we've sent over there. They've tariffed us to death. So they've made, buku bucks.
including the refined oil that we
Hmm.
refined for them. So,
Right.
but like I said, I'm going on a tangent. I know I'm taking us totally off topic, and we've got like 45 minutes to get through this video.
Is that how much longer it is? 45 more minutes.
No, we're at an hour and 19 minutes of streaming time.
Whatever. That's okay. We're good. It's all good.
I just,
It's all relevant. Remember we're prepared now. We're already ready. We don't have to kill ourselves for
yeah, but
coming.
I don't want to put us on a 4-hour video of me bitching and complaining.
Oh, we're fine. I mean, that's going to happen anyway. I mean, either way, one of us will be on a tangent about something.
I'm just,
And
I
if it's
really wish
not us,
people
it's our
would take
audience.
economics. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about that all next week.
Yes, sir.
Literally all next week. And I agree. Oh, I agree. I'm not a fan of tariffs, and I really wish we could just bring all of our manufacturing to the literal North America, keep it between Mexico, United States, and Canada. Mexico needs to get their cartel situation under control. Canada needs to pull their heads out of their asses about this tariffing the shit out of us so they can subjugate to the people who want everything for free. We're
Right.
just, yeah. Let's yeah, like I said, I'm trying to not go on too long of a tangent because that's what next week is for, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay, let me hit play.
With the United States, it comes at the expense of our working class, and we are subsidizing your defense. You have a powerful, wonderful military tradition. So why don't you, on your own accord, give us some initiatives that would bring back equity, parity? It'd be very easy to do. Or Donald Trump could act this way on the cuts. We didn't run up the debt. We owe $37 trillion. We are running $1.7 trillion deficits. We are paying interest at $3 billion every day. We have to make the cuts just for the interest. This is unsustainable. We welcome all sorts of talks about cuts. We don't like laying people off. But all you do is you give these negative advice to us, and nothing is constructive. You tell us where to cut. Maybe you'll have a better idea, maybe a broader idea, maybe a more fundamental cut. Barack Obama used to give us all sorts of ideas, but he never followed through. It was not my idea as Donald Trump to have to make these fundamental cuts. I inherited an unsustainable situation, and I don't like it, but I have no choice. But I welcome anybody on the other side of the aisle who has a better idea, or the public at large, but we have to stop the borrowing. And as far as
Trump's critics have raised concerns over his tensions with President Zelensky, even though Zelensky has expressed support for a ceasefire in the ongoing conflict.
Donald Trump is under all sorts of criticism because he at first had a legitimate beef with Mr. Zelensky, and then Zelensky agreed to a ceasefire. Now we're trying to woo Putin into a reciprocal agreement where there might be a ceasefire. We might have a DMZ. We might have American commercial activity, the minerals deal as a buffer, etc., etc. Russia's kind of worn out. And he's facing all sorts of criticism. All he has to say is, Vladimir Putin did not invade in my first term. He invaded during Barack Obama's term and Joe Biden's term. Even George W. Bush's term, he invaded. It wasn't I who got us into this mess. We cannot watch aimlessly and helplessly as 1.5 million lives are consumed with wounding, capture, missing, these casualties. All we're trying to do is stop the Stalingrad. The tragedy of this open spat is, if you think about it, they were very close to an agreement. And what is that agreement? There's only one real issue separating Russia now from and the United States participation, and that is, how far can you push Putin back? We know now that it will not be in NATO. We know it's armed to the teeth, and it's more deterrent than any NATO power. We know that it was never the policy of prior administrations to forcibly take back with military means the Donbass and Crimea. Putin can brag that he institutionalized. We're just talking about where the DMZ is, how close it will be to the embarkation point that Vladimir Putin launched from on February 24th of 2022.
Trump's push to keep Putin at bay underscores the innovative nature of the mineral agreement, which could reshape global geopolitics.
Donald Trump himself said he wanted to push Putin as far back as possible. That's why this mineral agreement was so innovative, because most of the key deposits are along this disputed area. If you can come up with a DMZ close to or near where Putin started the war, and he did start the and have concessions where Europeans and Americans come in and have personnel on the ground, then you're going to have the beginning of a lasting peace. Putin will not go in there and Americans or disrupt that. But the key will be to push him back. And that's what was so tragic about it, because in this conversation, everybody was talking past themselves. Zelensky doesn't understand that he is a subordinate. I feel for him because they've lost so many people, but you don't come into the White House with your trademark T-shirt. If you don't understand the nuances of the English language, you don't interrupt the President of the United States. And if you're J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, you got to be careful about the optics. Yes, MAGA supports you and the Americans support you for defending our interests, but it looks like two tall, big men are kind of ganging up on this little Zelensky. So those were not good optics for either one.
Yes, I can.
That just cracks me up. I mean, that's that's the driver of this, that, you know, Trump and Vance just, oh, they were just so big compared to the little Zelensky, and they were just a bully to him. Give me a break. You know, there's a
Well,
guy that's doing, you know, what over there? You know,
if they want
he,
more support from the left,
yeah,
not just the right,
right, correct.
is what he's getting at.
I understand that. Uh, but you got Zelensky over there dragging, you know, 65-year-old people into a van to say, hey, come help me. And, you know, what, he walks in as a little boy angel? Is that what he is?
Yeah.
Uh huh.
I
Yeah,
mean, I want to address this. I don't, if Russia really wanted to take all of Ukraine, I am
they could.
pretty sure they would have done so already.
I agree. I
I
think,
don't know if that's their actual goal.
right.
And so I'm a little bit iffy on that one. Little bit iffy.
Uh,
If Russia really wanted the whole thing and Europe, um, I just I think Europe's been itching for a fight. I really do. We created Zelensky by feeding his ego. Oh, that is an
yeah.
understatement. That is an understatement. And we can't really blame Trump for that, but we can blame the other leaders of the last
Uh-huh.
20 years.
Yes,
And Zelensky hasn't even been in power 20 years. And look at how inflated his ego got.
correct. Well,
So,
he comes over, and again, we've had this discussion. And what does the House and the Senate do? They, every
uh-huh.
single one of them, what, they wore the pin, or they had the flag. And
Mhm.
so the support that, you know, that was given to him by our government, he figures he's coming in and he's getting carte blanche to the checkbook. That's
Yeah.
what he was here for, the money. He wasn't here for
Yep.
anything else but the money.
Yep.
Yes. All right.
All
Almost,
right.
people.
And most importantly, I don't think Mr. Zelensky understands that the United States is the only key to his survival. He further does not understand, I wish he did, that we give him allowances that we do not give other clients. We don't say to Mr. Zelensky,
Yeah, Europe couldn't assemble a military equivalent of a soccer team. I
Yep.
agree. I totally agree. I had to pause that to point. Yeah, that I can agree on 100%.
So do I.
I want a ceasefire. Donald Trump said that today, but we've said that to Netanyahu. Biden said ceasefire to the disadvantaged. We don't say to Mr. Zelensky, be careful how you target. We don't want any civilian casualties. We say that to so he doesn't quite understand. I don't know why that he is in a unique situation. How could I sum it up best? I think this is the key to it, that the people that Zelensky does not feel comfortable with or doesn't like, the MAGA movement, the conservative Republicans, they have the power over his fate. And the people that he dalliances with and he feels comfortable and he's a rock star with, the Europeans and the American left, don't have any power. The Europeans talk a great game, but they have not come through with the economic and financial and military assistance as was promised. And the American left that has made him a rock star, they're not in power now.
If you enjoyed
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. So I believe,
100% fact right there.
yeah, I believe that's the end of his video.
Uh-huh.
And the link is in the description below. As I mentioned earlier, he is a little bit on the drier side, but he presents, I
He's
think,
got really good
really
points.
good content, and gives you pause to think about different things that you may not have thought of previously.
Yeah.
And he writes for various newspapers, but he's a constant guest on Fox. That's
Mhm.
mainly where I've seen him at. and there's some things I disagree with him on that, he makes a statement and I'm like, nah, I do it this way or whatever. But I think he has, like I said, good content. So I suggest you go and check him out and give him a follow if you like what you see.
I
So
agree.
we are at, oh, we're doing good today. We're at the 4:30 mark. And why
Yep.
don't we pull up some things, other things that we had planned for today? Some,
Yeah. I think we should talk about that oh, where'd it go? This one.
okay, which one?
The
Which, which,
Putin's motorcade.
oh, yes, go ahead. You may talk about that one.
Okay. So, um back not too long ago. Oops. Sorry. Notifications up in the corner. Um, a limousine that is said to be part of Vladimir Putin's presidential fleet was gutted by a fire. And this is just, what, days
Mm,
after Zelensky made that comment about outliving him?
yep. Was that a omen kind of thing or something?
Or an intentional thing?
Maybe.
Too
Alleg-
arrogant to keep his pie hole shut?
uh-huh.
Oh,
Allegedly.
Art says Victor does have a podcast. He does about 4 hours every week. Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, you didn't answer my. Oh, that's not to me. That's at Art. Whoops.
Okay.
Okay. Newsweek has contacted the Kremlin for comment. I'm assuming they haven't gotten it yet. Why it matters. With over 1.7 million views on social media account, footage of a burning car has gone viral. The burning car has gone viral and prompted much speculation. The cause of the fire is not known, and it is not clear whether the vehicle has been personally used by Putin, but the Russian leader has reportedly displayed paranoia about assassination plots. Yeah. They still don't know if anyone was in the vehicle at the time or not either. The limousine blew up on that street. I'm not going to try to pronounce because I don't speak Russian other than yet. So,
I think I know one word, but we'll leave it at that.
yeah, it's probably not nice.
No.
Um, it was just north of the FSB headquarters. Um, and yeah, Lubyanka, I don't know, screw it, on
Yeah, I
Saturday
think we
night.
should have a new rule going forward that if we can't pronounce it, we just say pronunciation and move on instead of struggling to try to get it.
Yeah.
We'll come up with like a code so
Or
that
we could just have a fun day and make fun of me
or me,
not
right?
doing this right.
Yeah, because
So,
we will have an example, I believe. We might show that one at the end. My big mistake that I made.
I can pull that up really quick
Yeah,
later
we'll do
after
that
we get
before
through
we.
these two
Yeah, we'll do
articles.
that before we end because I think you'll get a kick out of that. There's
It says there was no reports of injuries and no detail, but the cause of the about the cause of the fire, according to the German outlet Bild. The story of the incident was also widely picked up by media outlets, including those in Ukraine. The German newspaper said that the incident had caused panic in the Kremlin, noting that security is tight around the Russian president when he travels. I don't like Brian, what's his face, so we're not reading it. Um, Putin rides in a convoy of heavily armored vehicles surrounded by military special forces with AK-47s, anti-tank grenade launchers, and anti-aircraft missiles. Wow, dudes. Well, our presidents are equally protected. In
right.
December, a bomb hidden in an e-scooter killed Putin's head of Russian chemical and biological forces, Lieutenant General Igor. I'm gonna nope. And his aide,
Pronunciation.
someone else can pronounce it, and his aide in an attack for which Ukraine claimed responsibility. The independent Russian language outlet Meduza said that Putin had called the incident a major security lapse. You think? Um, Video from Putin's visit last week to the Arctic city of Mur- Murmansk.
A pronunciation pass.
Murmansk. Couldn't see it properly.
I
That's
see.
really easy.
I
Murmansk.
think that's a better word instead pronunciation. Just say pass, and
Yeah.
forget that we don't know what we're talking about.
It showed servicemen from a ceremonial guard being patted down for hidden weapons or explosive devices before the president came to lay a wreath on the tomb of an unknown soldier. Half these problems are just my mouth and my brain not communicating. By the way,
Oh, we're gonna see that in action. Don't worry.
so we don't really need to know what other people are saying. What's next? Official comment about the car blast is unlikely, but security around Putin will continue to dominate the headlines. Um, yeah, I'm not worried about what Ukraine's going to take credit for anything.
Right.
Um, the Sun, I don't know. I think they're biased if I remember correctly, and they're saying official fleet car blew up in a huge blast.
You know, Arby, if I didn't know that you were trolling us on April Fool's Day,
He trolls all the time.
I know, but it's kind of on the worst side. You see who his who he trusts.
Yeah, I saw that.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Now,
what do we have up next?
the next thing I want to do is on the same link, same line actually. So Ukraine struck one of their airfields, and you can see the massive blast. Here's the thing that they didn't put out in the news, but is being talked about because there's been radioactive fallout to this, is that some older nukes were stored there.
In the basement,
Um,
right? Something like that.
Yep, that's
Did it?
good, Jay. Thank you. So yeah, there was evidently some nukes and stuff stored there, and that's why it went boom boom the way it did. And that was
Mhm.
because of Ukraine strike onto their airfield base, or whatever you want to call it. Who the hell stores nukes there? Like store nukes in a place that it's not obvious.
It
You know,
wasn't it wasn't obvious. Probably they thought. Who
well,
would know?
I
Right.
would think of a better place. That's
Okay,
just me though, you know.
I hear you. All right, what do we
Ugh.
have next?
Hold on, let me see. Um, we can cover this one. These ones aren't really needed
Let me
because
see what we
they're
got. Pull it up. Let's.
whoops, my bad. Hold on. Um,
She just likes showing her bee. That's all.
no, I don't.
Yes,
I
she
was
did.
gonna cover the Pentagon refuting the Pete
Oh,
Hegseth's
yeah.
wife attended
Let's.
classified meetings. I know you
Okay.
found this, so do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was at the there was a big to do that Pete Hegseth's wife was attending meetings with him. You want to scroll up a little bit?
Oh,
And
sorry.
that's okay. And that's Pete with his wife Jen. And if you don't know, there was a huge scandal uh, that he had cheated on his previous wife with her, who had been a producer at Fox News. So there was a little something something going on, and that I think you played out in the hearings that
Yeah.
when he for his confirmation.
Hmm.
So Jen Hegseth has never attended meetings with her husband, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth.
Whoops. Sorry. My hand.
That's okay, Pete Hegseth, whether where either sensitive information or classified information was discussed, a Pentagon spokeswoman told the Daily Wire. The statement refutes a report from the Wall Street Journal that Hegseth brought his wife to sensitive meetings with foreign military officials. Hegseth spokeswoman Kingsley Wilson told the Daily Wire that she made the journal aware of the inaccuracies in its reporting, but that the publication stood by its reporting and chose not to update its story.
Let me scroll this up a
Mhm.
little more. There you go.
Further, the Wall Street Journal reporter who reached out initially sent the Pentagon a list of almost 24 questions with a 90-minute deadline while the defense team was traveling abroad in Japan. The Daily Wire has learned when the defense team received the inquiry, an official shared it was past midnight in Japan. The Defense Department told the Journal the deadline was unrealistic and in the morning told the publication that the Pentagon spokesman, Sean Parnell, oh, did they get Sean? Oh, I didn't know that. He ran for, we'll just let that go for a little bit. That's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that they tapped him to be the
Shit.
spokesperson. You're good. You're good. That I digress. I'm sorry. I didn't know that they hired him for that position. He had run for several offices and
Hmm.
was had to back out with allegations of abuse towards his wife. So he laid low, and now I'm surprised that he's resurfaced. Sorry about that. I
That's
digress.
okay.
Would call as soon as they landed in Iwo Jima. However, the journal published the story while the Pentagon team was in the air between 8 and 9:30 a.m. Tokyo time. When Parnell called the reporter, that reporter said she stood by her reporting. Well, that's whoever wrote that. The reporter reported that the report was reporting by the reporter.
They
Whew.
used a lot of
Uh,
words there.
Yes, they did. The incident further demonstrates to the Defense Department that legacy media outlets and DC politicians are knives out for Hegseth, a Defense Department official shared Monday. They'll do anything they can to undermine his efforts, that official said.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm trying to keep an eye on the chat too.
That's fine. Once I learn the studio, I'll be able to control my mouse and go up and down too,
Yo,
believe it or not. The publication suggested that Hegseth's vice president was by his side, whether in meetings with senators ahead of his confirmation or in meetings abroad with foreign officials, signaled that Hegseth is negligent in handling sensitive information. The journal also highlighted that Jen Hegseth formerly worked for Fox News as a producer and then as vice president at Fox Nation. Purnell, the chief spokesman for Hegseth, praised Jen Hegseth in response to the story. Secretary Hegseth's wife is an incredibly accomplished woman and leader, Purnell told the Daily Wire. She's an asset to her husband and an advocate for military families.
that don't mean jack shit.
No, and I do. We'll finish this and then we can talk about it. The
Yeah.
publication claimed that Jen Hegseth attended a high-level discussion at the Pentagon on March 6, a discussion that took place between UK Secretary of Defense John Healey and Secretary Hegseth shortly after the United States announced that it had cut off sharing military intelligence with Ukraine. Two people familiar with the meeting told the Journal that the Pentagon meeting discussed the United States' rationale behind ending military intelligence sharing with Ukraine, as well as future military collaboration between the U.S. and Ukraine. Jen Hegseth exited the March 6 meeting before any sensitive and classified discussions occurred, Wilson told the Daily Wire. The journal also reported that Jen Hegseth attended a meeting at NATO headquarters in Brussels where Allied defense officials discussed support for Ukraine. Again,
Oh, shh. I'm so sorry. My
he
hands
is doing this
absolutely hate
deliberately,
me.
people. It's April Fool's and she's messing with me.
No, I am not. My hand is
Ooh.
jumping.
Uh-huh.
My fingers are jerking and moving the little roller on the mouse, the
Okay.
little wheel.
Rolling,
Oh my god.
rolling,
I'm gonna stop
rolling.
holding the mouse until you tell me to move my
Okay,
to move it.
rolling, rolling, rolling. Crazy bee is rolling. So the journal, let's repeat that, reported that Jen attended a meeting at NATO headquarters in Brussels where Allied defense officials discussed support for Ukraine. Again, Wilson says that Jen Hegseth attended only the public remarks at the NATO meeting. She also pushed back on the journal's framing that Hegseth's brother, Philip Hegseth, was currently traveling with Hegseth on a tour to visit American allies and bases in Asia. He is conducting touch points with U.S. Coast Guard officials as a DHS senior advisor and liaison to DOD, she explained, noting that Philip Hegseth also traveled with his brother on the defense secretary's trip to the naval station Guantanamo Bay, coordinating with ICE personnel in his role as a DHS senior advisor. Additionally, the journal attributed a number of items of information to Wilson herself that the spokeswoman says she never told the publication. The paper discussed Philip Hegseth and his new roles with attribution to Wilson. The publication also attributes Wilson when it said that Philip Hegseth was traveling with his brother in Asia in its Guantanamo Bay last month. The Wall Street Journal did not immediately respond to the Daily Wire's request for comment. Is this from the Daily Wire, Crazy Bee? Is that where I
Yes, it
pulled that
is.
from?
Yes, it
That
is.
that's written like a piece of garbage.
I would
I'm
not. I'm not going to
yes.
argue.
I mean, I'm not sure we're going to utilize their information.
Who
I think
wrote this? Mary Margaret Houlihan.
I
Houlihan.
mean, the
Houlihan.
redundancy is just crazy.
And the
Um,
wording is
yes,
very
right.
ugh. Third
So
grader.
it sounds like Philip Hegseth is in a official capacity, is hired.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't that be a conflict of interest?
My
And
opinion. Yeah.
I mean, uh, I know many companies that don't permit, whether you're qualified or not, to have nepotism in the workplace.
Uh
So I'm
huh.
wondering where he pops up under the staffing chart.
I
And
am not sure.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't know that about him. And then in regards to her, uh, how many wives or husbands travel with her partner somewhere?
Yeah.
As long as I would want to see the proof that she was in the meeting. And I don't think that that's provided in this article at all. There's
Yeah.
just, again, allegations that this is what she was doing. So I would say, show me the money, honey.
Uh huh.
But that's where we're at with that. So I think part of the point of this story is they're out to get Hegseth no matter what. Since his confirmation, they want him, they want Tulsi Gabbard, JFK, uh, RFK, I mean, and just they're willing to go to any length to try to get them ousted.
Yeah.
So, because really, what do they have better to do, at this point? Uh,
Absolutely nothing.
Thank you. My point exactly. So we are at the 447 mark,
Oh,
and
he says if you work for the president or cabinet officers, the president can waive lots of conflicts.
mm,
That is so true.
but it also creates conflicts as well. So you
Yep.
have to be very careful. And again, if his brother was, uh, maybe the top in his field or uh, in that respect, then I'd take that under consideration. But again, if you have, 50 people that are in line that are just as qualified, my advice would be that you don't hire the brother. It
Oh
just,
yeah.
optically
It
looks bad.
looks bad.
Yeah, it looks bad.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so why don't we end it with the last piece of, well, actually, no, that's not true. Hold on. We have, yeah, let me think about that before we get there. I thought we had a couple. No, we'll save them. Do the very last piece and then we'll
Your
call
one
it a day.
that you
Yeah,
sent me with his story.
yeah, with the story. Go ahead. You can explain it. I don't cuz I don't want to say it again. It's embarrassing. But we've now have a new, I guess, new member of the
You
media.
created a new name.
Correct. And you talk about before we start, we both cannot talk at times. I gave you a rational explanation. The brain is there, we think, but the mouth does not always say what you want to come out of your head. So this was
Yeah.
funny.
Okay, let me hit play. And I present to you a video by, according to D, Cucker Tarlson. Okay, she said Cucker Tarlson. Okay, I'm witness to this. I should have recorded it, but here's Cucker Tarlson.
22 years ago, I was in a plane that crashed in the Middle East. This was right after 9/11. I was going over to cover the Taliban, and something happened in the cargo hold, and we went down in a sand dune in Dubai. Obviously, I survived. There was an explosion in the cargo hold. Some debate about what it was, but it happened. And the plane starts dropping, and the wing appears to detach. The plane is like struggling for altitude and going up, gunning the engines and sideways. It's like 3 in the morning over the Arabian Sea. People are freaking out on the plane. Every person on that plane thought we're going to die, very much including me. I had 3 little kids. I was half drunk, which makes it worse. We finally come in kind of sideways into the sand dune. The plane's on its side, and I'm in the first seat on the plane. I just had one thought, which is I'm getting off the plane. You can see burning from the wing, so it's like it is time to depart the plane. I hop up, and this male flight attendant stands right in front of me and goes, "Sit down, everything is fine." That's a verbatim quote. It was so demonstrably unfine, I can't even begin to describe how unfine it was. I opened the door, and the slide went up, and I jumped into darkness. Everyone in the back, though, they were like, "Oh, everything's fine." The pilots, by the way, went right out the front window.
Yep.
So he then has changed his name to, what's his real name now?
Tucker Carlson.
Mm-hmm. Not Cucker Tarlson.
Yeah, not
So
Cucker Tarlson.
yeah.
Tucker
So
Carlson.
you talk about the brain and the mouth not functioning. She must have cried for 10 minutes. She thought that was
Just laughing my
it
ass
was so,
off.
yeah, it was so freaking funny. You had to be there to enjoy it, but uh so we are going to make mistakes as we go forward and not get things right, but I think if we use
What do you
correct,
mean mistakes? I'm perfect. I do no
I
wrong.
I know you are. But if we can't from now on do a pronunciation, we're calling a pass. If it doesn't come out of our lips correctly, I'm calling a pass. So if you hear pass, you know we're messing up somewhere. Uh,
Or you'll hear me say somebody else can pronounce it.
uh-huh, exactly. So with
Um,
that being said, we are at 4:51, uh, and I think we should call it a day.
oh yeah, I'm just adding the new link. I forgot to add it to the show notes.
Okay. And
And add
again,
everything together.
everything that we've discussed is in the description below. Um, and
Well,
we,
it'll be in the description below.
yes, will be. Uh, and we will probably, I'm venturing to say, the way I'm feeling right now, I have a funny feeling well, we'll see what happens. So with,
Oh,
I'm,
Arby's saying 24 hours.
yeah, 24 hours.
You
I,
do not want 24 hours with me.
yeah, yeah. We got there's a lot to do though in that 24 hours too, Harvey. We don't know how. We'll see what
Oh,
happens. We'll see. I'll call Crazy B as soon as I get out of the office tomorrow, and we'll see how bad it is. Hopefully, it's no big deal, but you never know.
yep.
So she might be on for rest of the week. So we'll go from there. But again, Crazy B, for those that might not have, I know they watched the beginning of the video, but if you could, can you pop back up your new logo, what it looks like?
Uh, oops, shoot. Let me do this the right way. Because, my hands and all that.
Yeah, I know they were jerking. I got that. My eyes had a visual of that. Trust me.
Yeah, if you've ever had your hands spasm randomly,
Hmm.
you will know what I go through.
So there's the new logo for questions that need answers. And as always, we coming up with more questions than we really know nothing.
Um, no.
Yes, that Arby, that is perfect for Insomniac Theater. We can do that. That's doable because
The
I
only
believe
problem is I don't like, okay, the problem with me and drinking that much is I will never pass out from it, and
me
I
neither.
always remember every freaking thing.
I know,
My body metabolizes alcohol in a different way that I cannot do the funny blackout drunk. You will get me with slurred speech,
right?
but that's about it. It's never anything beyond that.
Well, I did note, I believe that JJ is a man after my own heart, and that would be the vodka. So we might get there with a bottle of vodka, a gallon of it, not a fifth. We would have to down a little bit more, but yeah, we
Oh,
it could be an interesting live stream. We could
it
go
would
for that.
be.
Yeah, we could go for that.
I don't know though. I haven't drank like that in God.
Uh-huh.
We're talking like 20 years since I've been well, almost 20 years. Let's go 15
Right.
since I tried to get blackout drunk.
Yeah.
I have I don't think you guys want me blackout drunk, but a little bit of alcohol would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of alcohol in me would be interesting. I won't do the goals of my youth. And my liver, and also though that'll lead to about a week and a half to 2 weeks of jaundice.
There you go.
I'll have to sit out in the backyard and garden, damn it. You guys are forcing my hands.
We'll get there. All right. We appreciate everybody that has joined the chat as always. Uh, and that's really all I have to say. Just everybody say a little prayer that it isn't going to be too bad tomorrow, and we'll whew,
Knock it
get
on
there.
wood. Knock
Yeah.
on some wood.
Yep. I'll get through it. It'll be okay.
Yep.
When you don't when you don't know what's going on, it's easy to say it's going to be okay, because I didn't want to know. I just there's some things that I think are easier to go in blind with, that
I want
that
to
you
point
don't
out,
dwell
I
on it.
remember this night, by the way, that Arby has mentioned. Yes, it was. It was very much by Thanksgiving. I remember that night laughing.
Oh, you're kidding.
He had
Oh,
way too much to drink, but it was fun.
oh, I see.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. All right,
All right.
I'm done for the day.
Yep.
I'm, I'm whipped. So
All
we will
righty.
see everybody on what day? Thursday? Okay, Thursday.
Thursday for you. I'll pop in tomorrow on here I'll throw something together to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And so I will be keeping the questions that need answers with the Monday, Wednesday schedule for right now. Same time, 3 to 5 ish,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little later. I might run a
So
little late, not sure. But
I I could conceivably pop in as a chatter. That would be
yes, you could.
oh that I could do both. I could go
Yeah.
from yeah, that could be interesting. Hmm.
So I'll throw something together for tomorrow for here. And then Thursday, we are definitely doing the Wrecked Sisters episode.
No, no, not guaranteed. Maybe not. I thought we were gonna maybe
Oh, you were
one
talking Sunday.
Sunday or
Or
Monday,
nope.
depending.
Monday is questions that need answers. So it's going to be
Oh,
Tuesday,
Tuesday. Yeah.
Sunday or Tuesday.
Yeah, Sunday or Tuesday, depending on how things go. We still have work to get done, and we want to be finished with everything. And then this is the funny part too, is next week will be, well, no matter where we go, will be training week. So if you think that now why can't I do anything? Do you have me locked on again?
No. Oh, I
Well,
have us locked. Yeah.
yeah, well, unlock us.
Okay. I
So
unlocked us.
yeah, so I'll be able to do crap like this. I'm going to be in training, so who knows? I was trying to get her to go upside down, but I can't. But I'm going
Nope.
to work
You're not going to
on
be able to.
yeah, I'm going to work on that. So uh, for the next couple weeks, uh, who
You messed
knows?
up my puzzle. I got to
Uh-oh,
jigsaw it back together.
that's fine. Um, we're going to be in training, so for all we know, the I could take the whole channel down while we're in the middle of live streaming, and but we'll get there. We'll figure it out. It'll be
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it might take a couple weeks or so, but we'll get there.
In the meantime, I'm going
Yep,
to start putting things back where they belong. You are,
I'm getting there.
you're trying.
Trying. I'll get there. So
You got
thank you
yourself
again.
halfway behind the chat.
There we go.
Here, let me line this all up back right.
There you go.
There.
All
And then
right.
let me make sure. Oh, now we're too close to that. Oh, Lord. It's fun. It's
Mm,
all for fun. That is all that matters, is that we have fun. Okay. Yep. Now we're lined up
good.
right.
All right, I'm done. I won't touch another thing
It's
until.
all good.
Yep. All right, everybody, have a good evening, and we shall see you on Thursday or tomorrow for Crazy B.
You guys will get used to the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So with that, I thank you all for showing up, being here, and as usual, stay safe, stay sane, stay sober. I truly appreciate those who showed up and those who are going to be watching later on. I will catch
Why
y'all
am I
on the
still
next one.
showing on the outro?